Now let's consider the second topic ILO. Describe 10 major natural environmental issues. In the previous podcast, we discussed sustainability and environmentalism. In this podcast, we will discuss some of the evidence of environmental problems and highlight some resources that might be useful for learning about such problems. Planet Earth is experiencing widespread global environmental change. Such environmental change is complex and typically has multiple and interweaving causes. However, one force that is common to most environmental change is the activities of humans. This is particularly true since the Industrial Revolution in the 1850s. Such is the extent of human impacts on such environmental change that the term Anthropocene has been coined to describe the extent, magnitude, and duration of such impacts. Extensive research documents these changes. A series of United Nations environmental audits since the 1990s, the Global Environmental Outlook series, identifies unprecedented global problems. The Global Environmental Outlook reports are conducted by expert groups with the cooperation of over 100 governments around the world, and are subject to 2 rounds of peer review. These reports assess 4 key indicators of environmental health, which are land, water, atmosphere, and biodiversity. These reports paint a disturbing picture with multiple indicators of environmental vulnerability. Reports such as GO5 paint a disturbing picture with such multiple indicators. For example, with the atmosphere, air temperatures have increased by 0.74 degrees Celsius in the 20th century, and further warming during the 21st century is likely to be between 1.8 to 4 degrees Celsius. The hole in the stratosphere ozone layer is now the largest it has ever been and is not expected to recover until 2060 to 2075. In relation to biodiversity, most well-studied species are declining. In terms of land, unsustainable land use and climate change are driving land degradation, including soil erosion, nutrient depletion, salinity, desertification, and the disruption of biological cycles. In terms of water, there has been widespread melting snow and ice and rising global average sea levels. Oceans continue to be heavily, and some major fish stocks are in decline due to persistent overfishing. The per capita availability of fresh water is also declining globally. Now, after you watch this podcast, please watch the brief video on the Global Environmental Outlook 5. This will give you an overview of the damage to the natural environment on a global scale. A useful illustration of the scale and urgency of human-caused environmental change is that of pollution of our oceans with plastics. Across the oceans of planet Earth, millions of tons of plastic pollution has accumulated. For decades, millions of tons of plastics have washed into oceans every year through rivers and shipping. These plastics do not biodegrade. Instead, they accumulate and are having a significant impact, particularly on marine life and our coastlines. Ocean currents carry plastic pollution vast distances and swirl in a circular pattern known as the gyres. The North Pacific gyre has accumulated approximately 3.5 million tons of human-made plastics, but such pollution is evident in other gyres in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. Of particular concern is that such plastics are eaten by fish species and seabirds, while other sea animals become entangled in this plastic debris. Worryingly, these plastics absorb toxins in the oceans, and when sea animals eat them, the toxins bioaccumulate in the food chain. Humans, who sit at the top of the food chain, bioaccumulate these toxins in the greatest concentrations. The website of the Plastic Oceans Foundation helps to illustrate this problem. In summary, the phenomenon of plastic pollution in our oceans is a complex environmental, social, and economic sustainability challenge. Again, please watch this brief video called Plastics in Our Oceans for an overview of the damage to the natural environment on a global scale. Now, returning to our second topic, ILO, let's look at the 10 major natural environmental issues. One of the key readings for this topic, based on Carroll and Buchholz, which is called Sustainability in the Natural Environment, highlight 10 major environmental issues. Echoing the findings of GEO5 and other research, these issues include ocean pollution, deforestation, energy use, water scarcity, pollution, waste management, air pollution, and pollution from chemicals, toxins, and heavy metals. The final environmental issue of concern is that of climate change. Climate change is caused overwhelmingly by human use of fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution and represents a complex sustainability challenge for humanity. To gain a better understanding of climate change and its origins, watch the YouTube video, Climate Science: What You Need to Know, about the basics of climate change on your homework sheet for this topic, and read the book chapter by Linenleuk and Griffiths, which will highlight some of the important implications of climate change for business.